Neutral is an integral part of fighting games. It is what we describe as a situation where neither you or your opponent has a distinct advantage. It happens at least once per round, and it's the gateway to gain control over the match. And despite its immense importance, it's not something talked about in detail often because, well, it's quite complicated. Like the Guilty Gear lore. Okay. I'm not reading all this. Well, jokes aside, there are just too many parts and they are all moving too fast. So why am I here talking about this subject? In my recent stream sessions, I've been getting a few new players and I've been struggling to communicate this aspect. Sometimes I don't know enough about the character they were using, and other times I didn't want to bog them down with details that may overwhelm them. To counter this problem, I thought to myself, why not explain one general aspect of neutral that can facilitate the thought process of finding detailed answers, instead of me going over every micro interaction a game might offer. So in this video, I'll be talking about the concept of ranges in hopes that you'll be able to use this idea to ask the right questions and find the effective answers. First things first, I will be explaining this concept through a game called Under Night In-Birth. I thought of doing this with a more popular game like Street Fighter, but the game has such wide ranges of attacks, I thought it would visually be much easier to see and explain. You'll see what I mean very soon. Just keep in mind, this concept applies to all fighting games, so even if you don't play this, you can and you should apply it to the ones you do. And do not worry if you don't know the game or characters, as I will be explaining it in a way that won't require you to have the prior knowledge. Alright, we're going to start this off with Merkava, the coolest and perhaps the most noodliest character in Under Night In-Birth. He's a character that has strong mid-range attacks, but also has tools that can be utilized at other ranges. To understand his strengths and weaknesses, let's go over some of his prominent attacks. The first attack we'll go over is his fastest and shortest attack, Crouching A. It is a 6-frame low that is safe and leads to combos with decent damage and great okizeme. The second attack is his Standing B. It is a low committal mid-range attack that leads to decent damage and okizeme, but can be extended if the Merkava player chooses to use resources. It is often a move thrown out to catch players who want to close the distance. Last is his Standing C and Strike Grab special. These are long-range pokes that will not lead to big damage and okizeme unless resources are used or special conditions like counter hits are met. By putting these all together, we can see the general ranges that Merkava can generate damage. At the same time, we can see the gaps in between where he might be lacking in potential. Most notably the space between the Crouching A and Standing B. As a side note, Merkava does have more moves than this, but for the sake of simplicity, I decided to keep them out. But what about Dash B and Crouching C? I understand, but this video is to explain general concept and is not a Merkava specific guide. Please understand. Now that we're done with basic Merkava ranges, let's introduce Player 2, Nanase. She's a close to mid-range specialist with a big sword and wind powers. Her fastest normal is Crouching A, which is a 5-frame starter. This attack is 1 frame faster than Merkava's Crouching A, and similarly leads to good damage and okizeme. Her next notable set of attacks are Standing and Crouching B. They both come out very fast, 8 and 9 frame respectively, and cover a surprisingly good amount of range with great damage potential. The last attack we're going to look at is her air projectile. There are a few different variations based on button strength and whether or not the button is held. It's not a very strong projectile by itself due to its long startup and slow travel speed, but it can be used as an extra attack to cover her approach. Now with the prominent attacks of each character explained, let's look at how they match up to each other. At the very close ranges, Nanase has a slight advantage due to having a faster A attack than Merkava. She has a 5 frame normal compared to Merkava's 6, which gives her a likely chance to win at close range scrambles. At the close to mid range, Nanase has an overwhelming advantage. Her standing and crouching B outranges Merkava's shorter normals, while being significantly faster than his mid-range attacks such as standing B. Mid-range is where the tide starts to turn. Merkava's standing B starts to outrange a lot of Nanase's normals, and for the attacks that can reach Merkava are generally slower and higher commitment. Long range is where Merkava feels the most comfortable, because Nanase's options are severely limited. Her most common approach is her air projectile, but due to its slow startup, Merkava can easily hit her out of it since he has a relatively fast full screen attack. Now that we've matched each character's ranges, we can clearly see where they want to be. If you are a Nanase player, you want to be close to mid-range to threaten your B attacks, while Merkava players should aim to keep Nanase at a very healthy distance. Analysis like these can help you greatly on where to go and start asking a question, how do I get there? For example, if Nanase is at full screen and wants to get closer to Merkava, she can do things like dash and block to get closer, or bait attacks to whiff punish with gap closers. This is the point where things can get quite complicated and requires a much more detailed analysis of what each attack does and how they interact. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that here since that is not the point of this video. However, by going through this thought, you can filter down the critical parts of the approach and get a better idea of the risks and rewards associated with spacing. So to summarize, first, analyze each major attack points for your character and your opponent. Second, compare those ranges and find a distance where you can gain the advantage. And lastly, find a way to get to those ranges in an efficient manner. Hope that helped. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments below. If you guys like this topic, I might make more videos trying to cover the other aspects of neutral. And if you want more details regarding the character interactions shown in the video here, stop by the Sleeleaf Dojo stream. We do a healthy amount of Under Night and Breath gameplay. Alright, till next time, have fun with finding games.